Hello and welcome to Crantock Art here in the southwest. I'm Penny and today we're going to have a go at making a peacock. So here's one that I actually made and finished. So it's quite a simple sort of form but quite effective. This one's actually been decorated with a metallic oxide and glaze, and then a bit of gold on the beak and the feet just to make it a little bit pretty. You don't really get the best of him in this light. You need to get him out in the sunshine and then he really glows. When I made him, he started off the size of this one. It just shows how much shrinkage occurs with the pottery we do. So this is what we're going to have a go at making. So let's put that one out the way, and we'll put this fellow out the way as well. And let's get started. So to start off with, I've got a few tools. I've got a plastic tube, a straw. This I'm going to use for making the pattern of the circles on the feathers. We've got a lollipop stick. I've trimmed it to a point at one end because I find that's really quite handy. A paintbrush, which I'm actually going to use the end of that for making the eyes, and a knife. I've also got a template so that I've cut out a shape for the tail. I've cut a shape for the foot. This is what I'm going to use to make the pattern for the feathers, and then something to make the crown. Now again, as always, the template will be available on Etsy if you wish to buy it, or you can have a go at making your own template. Entirely up to you. Let's put those out of the way for a minute. So I've already rolled out and cut them out, so I'm a little bit ahead of the game, so you don't have to sit there for ages watching me. Then I've weighed out 2 lumps of clay. This one's 350 grams, and this one's 30 grams of clay. And this is going to make the body. So the first thing I'm going to do with this is I'm going to cut it in half. And I'm going to make it into 2 pinch pots. So I get it in my hands, roll it around. Then I'm right-handed, so I'm going to put it into my left hand, get my right thumb, push it into the pot till I can feel my thumb go right through, just like that. Then I'm going to keep my thumb still, and I'm just going to stroke my fingers up the clay, like that. Turn it round, do it again. Turn it round, do it again. And all the way round, keeping it in my left hand. My left hand's going to help to sort of keep it in shape too. Once I've gone the way round, I'm then going to go round it with my right hand and just even it out. So I want it the same thickness everywhere. Be careful not to make it too thin. I want it about 1/2 centimetre, that's about 2/8 of an inch. Okay, all the way round, no thinner. So I've got a nice little half cup there. Then I'm going to do the same with the other one. I'm going to roll it around in my hand. Get it in my hand nice and secure. Push my thumb in. Keep my thumb still. Just move my fingers all the way around it. Stroking it up. And then go round it again. Remember to make sure that the bottom is pinched out a bit as well, so that it's all the same thickness everywhere. If you find you've got a bit thin, it's okay to add a bit more clay back in, or just push it on itself. But if you end up with very thin spots, you'll find that when you start to make the body, it'll all fall apart. Right, so I've got 2 nice little cups there. I'm now going to put these together. So I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to go around the top of each pot and score them. This helps it to stick together better. Same with this one. And then what I'm going to do is I've got some clay with some water mixed in it, what we call slip. So I'm going to paint that around, and this is going to help it all stick together. And then I put the 2 cups together. And what I'm aiming to do is to try and get them to fit as well as possible. Now it's almost impossible, as you can see here, that you're going to get them to fit exactly, but you line them up as best you can, and then you gently squeeze them together like that. Then to join it, I'm going to get a little bit of clay here. I'm going to roll it into a coil. So I pinch it out first of all. Roll it. Keep that piece of clay safe. Okay. Nice, long, gentle rolls to make a coil we can put around it. You can add a little bit more slip around it. If you've added a lot, you might find that it's oozed out of the join, in which case you don't need to add any more, but mine hasn't. And then I put that round. Doesn't matter if it's not long enough, just roll another piece to add on. Mine, as it happens, is more than long enough, so I can pinch a bit off. Then I'm going to take my lollipop stick and I'm going to smooth the clay down. That way and that way. So I'm aiming to push it across the 2 cups and that way join it. So don't just smooth it along because that won't actually do much. I want to make sure that we get in there. Smooth it either side and make a nice strong join. That, and all the way around that way as well. There we go. Okay, so it's a bit rough and ready at the moment. So what I now do is I get it in my hand and I pat it around, get a bit more ball-like, and then spend a bit of time just smoothing it down. The more time you spend smoothing it at this point, the better. We're looking for any big holes or cracks that we need to put some clay in. Get a very rough sort of shape like that. I call this the potato phase of making a pinch pot. Let's roll it around. Get a bit more smoothing. Now I'm going to get on the board. Sorry, excuse me. I'm going to roll it around on the board. What I'm aiming to do is to get it as smooth as I can. If you've got a bowl to hand, you could actually use a bowl and roll it around in a bowl to make it smooth. So I'm just going to do that. Let's go over it again. You see there's a bit here which is a little bit rough, so just going to smooth that in. My clay is actually quite soft, so if you find that you've got cracks forming, you might need to add a spot of water to it. You may also find that if you're smoothing and just don't seem to be getting anywhere, it just seems to be getting rougher, maybe you actually need to clean your hands up a bit. So when you get clay all over your hands like that, you'll find that you just start to make it rough. So I've got a little bowl of water here. I'll rinse my fingers. I've got a towel over here, so I'm just going to dry my hands. So get them nice and clean. And then you'll find it a lot easier to smooth things. So let's have another look at it. Roll around. Okay. So that's going to be the body of our peacock. So at this point I decide which is probably the best bit. A lot of the peacock is actually hidden, so you only really need a bit that's going to make a quite nice chest. The rest of it's going to be covered up pretty much. So that's going to be the front of my peacock, I reckon, there. What we then do to make sure he's not going to go anywhere, we have to bounce him a bit. So we put him on the board and you just dab it a little bit on the board and it gives you a nice flat bottom. Don't want him too flat. So let's just puff him up. So that's the body, put that to one side. Then we get the head, and that's this little 30-gram lump of clay here. And again, I'm going to make a little pinch pot with it. So I'll pick my thumb in and go all the way around it. Make a little shape like that, like a little cap. Again, I'm just going to roll it on the board, smooth it out a little bit, get my finger in there. Oop, come here. That, and there's the head. So let's take my peacock here. So I said this bit's going to be the front. That's going to be where I'm going to put the tail. So the head's going to go on there. And put the head on quite high up. So we've got a little curve of his chest into his head. Now we have a pocket of air in there, and if we don't allow that air to escape during firing, it's going to escape by blowing the head off. So having worked out where my head's going to go, put my knife in, give a good twist, make sure you go right in. And the best way to do this is to blow in it and make sure it sounds like it's echoing. That doesn't sound like it's gone through. That's better. Like that. Then we take the head, rough it all up, some slip on it. Okay, and then put it on. To make sure it sticks, wiggle it to and fro till it stops moving, like that. Then we get another bit of clay, roll it into a coil. This fella's getting a bit fat. Let's just puff him up a bit. Roll it into a coil. This has got to go round the head, and as you see it's not quite long enough. That's fine, I'll get another piece of clay, roll out another bit. I don't want a really thick coil, so this is quite a thinnish one, just to fasten it. Then we get our tool again, let's clean off that clay from last time, and go round it again, smoothing it down onto the body and up onto the head, like a nice strong join. All the way around. So it looks a bit rough at the moment. So what we're going to do then, again, is get your finger in there. Let's just smooth it down. Spend a bit of time tidying it up. If you have access to a kidney, then use one. I'm not talking about the human body part, I'm talking about the pottery tool, a kidney. Like that. Again, if you find your fingers are starting to get a bit too manky, too much clay on them, and don't forget to give them a rinse. Dry them off. You don't want your fingers wet, you just want them clean. And smooth it all down. Okay, just make sure his head's the right shape. I haven't shaped it too much. Okay. Right, next thing I'm going to do now is work on the tail. So I have already cut out the shape. There it is. And I've already as well taken my little peacock shape, feather shape, and I've gone round marking my little tail feather bits. So just go around like that all the way. I've tried to arrange them, that's not the best tool. I've tried to arrange them so they overlap. The first one I did, they weren't overlapping, but I used a smaller template. Let's use the back of the knife, might be better, to go around it. And again, to save you having to sit and watch me do dozens of feathers, I've done most of them first. Where it's overlapped like that, I've decided which one's going to be the top feather. Just smooth it out. Then we need to put the little ring in, and this is where we use a pipe, or in this case this is a oversized straw, and you, starting from the bottom, make a little, obviously don't cut right through, all you want to do is just make a little mark. You'll find in some cases you overlap a little bit. That's okay, we can smooth that all out in a minute. As I try not to cut right through, very easily done. Just stamp it. You might find you've got other tools that work better than this. This straw is a little sharp, and when I made one earlier I nearly cut a hole right out of it. And then where it overlaps, I'm just going to smooth it out again. Just keep it tidy. I'm just going to remake that piece there. Get a little bit more pronounced. And there. A little bit of overlap there, so tidy that up. Okay. Like that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it just a little bit more feathered like on the edge. Now you could cut these into points. I don't do that because they do make quite dangerous pieces of pottery if you do that. So although I'm going to sort of cut to the feathers, I'm not going to bring them directly to a point. I'm just going to take V pieces out like that, all the way around. I've also, after I've rolled this out, I've dried it a little bit. Hand slip there, not good. So that it's strong enough to hold itself. If you have dodgy hands like me, then don't do it towards the feathers, do it away from the feathers, then you won't slip. Let's do it like that, okay, all the way around to make his tail. Now, it's obviously a very stylised tail. But quite good fun despite that. All the way around. Okay, there we go. Right, take those last few bits out. There we go. Right, one tail. So let's take our bird back again. As I say, I haven't worked out where his tummy is and his front. We know now where we've got to put his tail. So I get to the back of it, score it. Nice blob of slip. And then you position the tail against the back of the bird, so they're facing us. It's easier that way, I find. So we can see where we go. Give it a good wiggle at the back, make sure it's going to stay on. And then to make absolutely sure it's going to stay on, we're going to need another coil. So what I do is, again, nice chunky coil this time. I'm going to get the bird upside down. Be careful with that it might flop a little bit, that's all right, just as long as you've got control of it and it doesn't break. So get that coil right up into that join between the tail feather and the body. Really work it in. Make a good. You should really put some slip on there as well. My clay is really quite soft, so I'm able to be really lazy here and not actually worry too much about that. But I should have really put some slip there, possibly scored it as well. So got that in. It's like nice and tight. Standing back up again. Arrange his tail a little bit. There we are. So our peacock has a tail. Next thing we're going to do is give him some wings. So what we do is, again, we get a bit of clay. We're going to make a coil. Let's just put you out the way a little bit. Like that. So on the wings, what I've actually done is I've just put a coil of clay in. So it sort of looks like he's got wings, but all he's really got is just the illusion of the wings. So you roll a coil. Back here. We want it to go from just below the neck round to the back of there. So about that long. So get one and then cut the other piece to the same length. And then I'm going to score both of them. Paint slip on them. Oop. Somewhat blobby slip. Okay, let's take that away. Okay, that come off. Right. Then we position that round like that to make one wing. Okay, so a nice little curve. Turn it around the other way. Same on the other side. It's a good idea too at this point to make sure you look at your bird in both directions. I'm now going to put him onto a board because turning him around, I'm likely to pull the tail off, so let's put him on there. There we go. Now I can turn the board, not him. So bring it round like that. So we've got this nice curve for the wing. Again, we get our stick, starting at the bottom, get it tucked right in nice and tight at both ends, and then smooth it in at the back. So you leave that piece proud at the front to give you the hint of a wing. Okay, like that. Smooth it in. Like that. Yeah, get the impression of a wing. Same on the other side. And that my tool in there, so you can see. So I get my tool into there, and then smooth it down. If you're using my templates, be aware of the fact that you do need to make sure that you print it onto A4 paper. We had a few people recently comment about the fact that the templates have come out smaller than my pieces appeared in the video. And that's because here in the UK we print standardly onto A4 paper, not foolscap. So you need to set your printer up to do that, and then it should print to the right size. Okay, there we go. Right, so look at him front on. So he's got a pair of wings. You see again, he's also getting, he's quite settled here. He's flopping down a little bit. Looks like he's settling down for a kip. So let's just wake him up a bit, make him stand up a bit prouder. Next thing I'm going to do is going to give them the crest on the top of his head. So that's this bit. Now, of course, real peacocks have long, thin bits with feathers on the end. Well, if we try to do that in pottery, that's not going to work. So we cheat a bit. So I've got a triangle, which I'm going to use, and then I'm going to put blobs on the top to give that sort of effect. So again, I've got that template piece, little piece here. All of these are rolled out to 5mm. So again, I'm going to score, make sure this is going to stay on, add some slip. And this is arranged then so that it slopes back from the front of the head towards the back, like that. So let's put that on. Again, wiggle it around. Make sure you look at it straight on and make sure you've got it in the middle of the head. Then we're going to get a little bit of clay. Again, nice little coil, which is going to go either side of this. On there. On there. Like that. Okay. And then we're going to smooth that in. Like so. There we go, like that. And then the same on the other side. Make sure you can see. Okay, there we go. Smoothing in down there. Okay, again, get your fingers clean. And use your fingers to smooth it. Like that. On both sides, as tidy as possible. And it depends how rough and ready you want your piece to be, but if you want it to look smooth, then it's worth spending that bit of time on it, keeping it nice and tidy. What I'm then going to do is I'm going to get some more clay, and I'm going to make 3 little balls, which are going to make the crest. Again, it depends on how big you want these to be. They don't have to be very big. You could have, I've got 3, you could have more than 3 if you wanted, if they were smaller. I'm going to keep it fairly simple and just have 3. 1, 2, 3. It might be a bit too big. Let's have a look. I might do it right. Okay. Get them as round as possible. But again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Put a bit of slip on it. Again, I'm not scoring this. It's so small that scoring is not going to make a lot of difference. Starting at the very top, I'm going to give it a good wiggle. Make sure it's really stuck on there. Okay. Just give it a little tug. Make sure it's not going anywhere. Another one here. In front, like that. Again, give it a good wiggle. Make sure it's really firm on there. Give it a good tug. If it comes off, it's not right. You've got to keep going. Yeah, that's on nice and tight. And the third one, might even have room for a fourth one. We'll see. That's going to go there. And we put them great fingers out the way. There we go. Make sure that's on. No, it's not. So let's try again. Keep wiggling. No, there's a bit more slip. Try again. Obviously, you've got to make sure these are on properly. You don't want them dropping off during firing. Yeah, that's on now. So, he's looking a bit bereft. He doesn't have a beak or eyes at the moment, so let's sort that out next. So this is where I start to use my paintbrush. I'm going to give him a beak first because that gives us a little bit of a reference point. So all I'm going to do is get a little bit of clay. I'm going to roll it around in my hand. and then pinch it into a sort of beak shape like that, flat at one end, pointed at the other, like that. And I'm going to score the flat end, bit of slip on it, and then attaches to the front of his head, like that. Okay, again, give it a good wiggle, although I am going to put a little coil around this one. I think I'm going to put it on upside down, but there we go. Let's arrange that. So yeah, a little bit of clay. Right, it's gone a little bit too thin. That's better. Put that round. So again, don't want it too fat. Nice little thin coil. Go round. Up. Get my tool. Smooth it in. There. Smooth it down on the beak. Use the pointed end here if I can. Make it a bit neater. Tilly's glaze, they do look a little bit like a character out of Chicken Run. Smooth that in there. Turn them round, do the same on the other side. So his beak's a little bit more peacocky and a bit less chicken. Smoothed in. Make the crest look a little bit more like a crest and a bit less like 3 balls of clay. I am going to actually sort of do a effect like that on it as well. That's that. Okay, right. Make sure that's on nice and tight. Next, you need some eyes. See why I don't worry too much about smoothing it too much early on, because as hard as you try, you're going to mess it up while you're working on it, so don't get too tied up early on. Will you sit a bit higher, because you're getting a bit, you look like you're going settling for the night. Right. Okay. So next we're going to give him some eyes. So this is where I take the end of a paintbrush. So you want the eye on the side of the head. That. Having made one eye socket, like that, then look him full in the face and make sure you put the other eye socket in the same place on the other side of the head. Yes, it's going to look a bit weird. I'm just going to do that. You probably won't be able to see because his tail's in the way, but there we go. Like that. So 2 eye sockets. Get a ball of clay. That. And what I always do is I get a ball of clay that sort of will go into the socket but will protrude quite a bit, and then cut it in half. That way it should be the right size to fit. Should. It's not a foolproof method, especially if you can't cut perfectly in half. So let's roll that around a bit. Okay, 1 ball of clay. Right, so I've got 2 balls. Let's just check they're more or less the same size. By doing them, always do your eyeballs or anything that you're making in pairs together at the same time, so you can compare them and make sure they're about the same size. So a little bit of clay on there, drop it in. There you go, perfect fit, look at that. Right, tidy up your beak. So that's come alive a little bit now. Next we've got the feet. So I've got 2 little pieces of clay here. Ooh, come back here, one's going under the board, which I've cut into triangles to make for his feet. So what I'm going to do here is, again, I'm going to use the paintbrush and I'm going to press down on the top of these to make 2 grooves. I'll do the same on the other side. Then I'm going to pinch these on the grooves like that to give him some claws. just smooth that out again. Smooth it out there. That's one foot. Do the same with the other one. So it's just shaping it just a little bit between my fingers and thumb, just to pinch it in a little bit, make it look a bit more like a foot and a bit less like a triangle of clay. Just again, use the back end of the paintbrush just to tidy it up. Again, nice little foot. Then score the feet on the flat bit there. That's a slip on both of them. Right, they sort of go together. So let's lift him up and onto his feet like that. And what we need to do, this is the tricky bit, but you see I've done that so that they stick to start with. So now I can turn the bird upside down. I've got to be careful because you can see it's tearing, the tail is tearing off there, so I'm going to have to do some repair work on that in a second. Let's get the feet on. So a little sliver of clay alongside each one. And we move that in. If you remember earlier, I didn't score and slip that piece, and now it's going back to haunt me. So I might have to get in there again. Let's actually score that now. Put a slip in there. Strengthen it up no end. Right, get that on there. That's better. Much better seal. Now, of course, if this is going to be fired, we've got air trapped in there. So before I put him back down again, I'm going to get the knife in there and open him up. I leave this till the end because until that point, you've got a ball of air trapped, which gives you something to push against. Right, let's get him straight. So now it's just a matter of tidying up. There's a point here where I've managed to catch my fingernail in it. So let's just clean that up. If you need to at this point, you can go around and tidy up and enhance any of your pieces that you're going to be decorating later. If you want to, let's just go around. There's one or two there that I just want to make a little bit more pronounced. Just use the sharpened end of that. Again, down here I've lost a bit of definition there. Okay, and then just tidying up. Now, one thing you can do as well, just clean up a bit, is I like to actually have pupils in the eyes of my pieces at the moment, and it's entirely up to you because a lot of the pieces I've done I'm not, but I'm just going to make a little pinhole in each of those, and I'm going to use the back end of a file because that's what I've got to hand. I'm just going to make a little hole in there like that side, and then one on the other side. It looks like he's sort of a bit cross-eyed, but that's okay because that's how I like them. And then it's just a matter of just the final bits of tidying up, and then off he goes for firing. And then, as I say, eventually it's a bit of a surprise, but he will end up about the same size as that one, surprising the shrinkage. And then you can go to town with painting the feathers, all sorts of different colours if you want to. If you want to go for the complete peacock look, it's entirely up to you, or whether you can go for something a bit simpler like we've done. So I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I look forward to catching you again soon. All right then, bye.